Welcome back to day 3, or is this day 4 of Chris before coffee?
Well, technically today it's Chris during coffee.
During
I've had literally just one sip before we went on air. But no, I had an interview this morning with Mike Maloney. I was really pleased about that because I'm a big fan of his videos. In fact, actually, I got to Mike's videos via the Bitcoin space because I was a fan of Max Kaiser, and he talks about gold and silver all the time. And so I was watching those videos, came across Mike's, and Mike just nailed it. And I think it was like episode 5 of his documentary on the history of money and stuff. You should definitely check it out. He made this really cool distinction between currency and money. That currency should be portable, divisible, fungible, but then in order for it to qualify as money, it has to be a store of value. And I thought that was a really worthy distinction for him to make. He also talks about the ultimate store of value really is, the ultimate form of money really is your time. And that is the ultimate irreversible transaction, and that really what we're spending right now with all these day jobs that we're doing, and even time we spend on exchanges trading on the highs and the lows, really what we're spending there is the time, that stuff we're never getting back.
And that really ties into the idea of the reputation system, living on your reputation.
Yeah.
You're essentially trying to maximize your time to do the best things with your time. The more honest you are about your intentions, the more successful you'll be.
Exactly. Yeah, so I was really pleased to do that with him, hence the late start today. But yesterday just feels like an absolute blur. Like, so much happened. I did like 4 live stream interviews up in the media center. People start to recognize us now. Everyone knows who you are. When we were out the night before, people were like, "Mad Bitcoins," doing this kind of voice. I said, "You're Chris Ellis, you were running for the foundation." And they remember that whole campaign you did.
Yeah.
And you know what this makes me think? Because I also went to Michelle Seven's talk yesterday morning, and you know what I'm realizing now is Bitcoin is filling up with people that are terrible at promoting themselves, but are very good at promoting one another. And Michelle and you have done a really good job of promoting me. Like, Michelle's introduced me to people that I just wouldn't have the courage to have approached, because I don't know what to say to people when you're at a networking event. Like, I don't want to go up to someone unless I've got a purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll think of stuff I want to say, like when I'm in the bathroom and I'm walking down the street, but then when I get there I freeze, and it's like I've thought too much and now I'm too busy trying to remember rather than just being like myself. But if someone else makes the intro, they often put in an icebreaker and you can get that.
And sometimes it's just about relaxing into your environment.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting at Davi's Bitcoin Not Bombs booth yesterday just trying to sell some t-shirts, and I was sitting next to the Open Bazaar guys. And I heard them talking about stuff, and I'm interested in Open Bazaar. I'm interested in dark markets.
Yeah.
And I struck up a conversation with them. And usually I wouldn't do that, but now I did. And we have a lot of things in common. We're all into Bitcoin. We're all excited about them. And it was just great to meet them, great to talk to them. And that's everyone that I've met at the conference. It's been like that. We have similar interests. Everyone's really kind and polite, and it's just nice to meet people like that who are into the same things and want to build people up. They don't want to tear it down. No one was bagging on Bitcoin or anything, or bagging on the shows or whatever. They're all really positive.
And Darby took quite a lot of Bitcoins. I hear people were going in there spending their Bitcoins on his.
It was looking good. He's got Silk Road shirts now. He's got. I went to the Silk Road and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. The joke shirts. It's fun stuff. He's got all the pins. It's gonna be at PorkFest too, so if you didn't get anything from Davi, you still have a chance at PorkFest.
Right, so we're about to make our way up to PorkFest. Hopefully in a few hours. We're going up to New Jersey first. We got to stock up on some supplies, and then we're going to go to PorkFest. Everyone is kind of moving from DC.
We're told that we need mosquito repellent, galoshes, raincoats, sleeping bags, pads, cold weather gear, warm weather gear. This PorkFest seems to have a little bit of everything.
But we're going for the friends. We're going for the
people there.
Yeah, so we're definitely up for that. So yesterday, we've got a lot of interviews you should definitely check out on the channel on World Crypto Network. I did an interview with the guys at Blackcoin who were super pumped and got lots of energy. I really admire the guys. They were they were a dream to interview because they just roll off the questions. They've already got the answers. They've done this 100 times before. They've got all the sound bites ready. But they're authentic too. They really mean this. They're in it for the right reasons. Even when we were doing the interview, the developer was on his laptop in the IRC, also working on code at the same time while the other guys were answering questions. I really love that. It's like a vocational lifestyle for them. These are this is the new Federal Reserve we're talking about. Everyone has the ability to print money now, and these guys are just doing it as a hobby. This is just something they do, and then they're talking about all the algorithmic trading they've got with their multi-pool, so that even though you can't mine Blackcoin anymore, because the first 10,000 blocks were POW, and then now on it's POS, proof of stake, that they now have a multi-pool where you can direct your graphics cards to that, your ASICs to that, and they'll mine a plethora of other coins, and then they'll simply buy Blackcoin with those coins. So Blackcoin apparently has this ongoing sustained buying pressure, which in theory should stop it, should add some resistance to it going down, which is really, really interesting. And they said they were doing it very ethically, that they weren't pumping, they were distributing it over a range of exchanges, and they were only selling it off in little bits and pieces, so it didn't create any volatility.
Cool.
So it sounded to me like they were just really enthusiastic about the space in general, and they just wanted to do a good thing and to create a bit of a culture. And I definitely think we should have them on the show again.
Definitely.
We also did an interview with Zhao Tong. And he was really cool to actually meet in the flesh. I've only ever seen him on YouTube before. And he was talking about like the community and getting the spirit. Like, he is a trader himself.
Sure. So
when he sings from the heart. He's not singing in the abstract.
But yeah, he was talking about wins and losses, and obviously, everyone's had losses in this, even Zhao Tong. And that was a great thing for him to say, because we think maybe he's an artist, and maybe Mad Bitcoin's an artist. Maybe we have like a vision of this thing. We never lost money, but everybody loses money in this thing sometime, but you just got to hold, you got to get back in it, and you got to continue. And that's what he kept doing. He kept making songs, and he just kept getting more involved in Bitcoin. So.
Yeah, no, I was really, really impressed with him, and I hope that he inspires more artists to get into the space. We always see Marguerite, coin artist on Twitter. She's been doing some paintings. She recently did one of Cody Wilson and Amir Taki, which looks really cool. She's talking about putting hidden messages into her paintings, like cryptographic messages. She's even talking about the idea of having a private key in the painting that you can top up, right? So people, like, you can't crack it, right? So it's all encrypted. And then people can, it's like a wishing well. People just throw the Bitcoins into the painting. But maybe one day, hundreds of years from now, we'll have supercomputers. I mean, hundreds of years will be a gas by then, but like, we'll have the supercomputer that'll be capable of cracking that. So I really like what the sort of intergenerational statement that she's making, where she's actually doing something for the long term. She's expending effort that won't be realized until a future generation. She may not live long enough to see it, and I think that really helps to define what we're about.
I'd like to see a portrait of Zhao Tong.
Yeah,
backwards baseball hat, the anonymous mask, and he was dedicated to that anonymous mask. Both members of Zhao Tong, to my knowledge, never took them off. They've been here like every day of the convention. I met them on the first day. I got to see their show on the second day, and I interviewed them on the third day. And every day, anonymous mask. Very serious about it. It's a very cool dedication that they show, because I know those things are hot, and I know they're suffering in their own way, but they did it for their art, So.
Yeah, no, really cool. Well, they're turning their whole lives into a work of art, to coin it. And I really like that we're all just becoming rebels to the system, that we're inside of the system, there's nothing we can do about it, but we can still be creative, that always is an option. And maybe we should talk a little bit about Paige's talk from MaidSafe. This was like her first time doing like a presentation for quite a large audience. I think she did really, really well. I didn't get to see the first part because I was doing an interview, but I came down to see the last sort of 20, 30 minutes. That she handled it really, really well. And one of the issues I wanted to address in particular was what happened with Mastercoin. MaidSafe tried to do some crowdfunding using the Mastercoin network, and one of the interesting problems they were up against was the lack of liquidity on the Mastercoin exchange. And the problem is that if you buy Mastercoins as a currency, in order to buy any of the assets on their system, there has to be enough liquidity on the exchange, otherwise you're not going to be able to get your exit. So what happened with MaidSafe was they raised a lot of money in Mastercoin, but then when it came to actually liquidating those Mastercoin, because they didn't really want the Mastercoin, they wanted the dollars or the Bitcoins, everyone on the exchange pulled their buy orders. Why would you as a trader want to be buying Mastercoin when a seller is inbound with a large chunk, right? You're going to wait and for the price to go down, because nobody goes shopping looking to be ripped off. Everyone goes shopping looking for a bargain.
There's also something about the way they set up the sale. You could get a discount if you bought Mastercoins and then bought Safecoins. So everyone bought Mastercoins, driving the price up, and then driving the price of Safecoins up, and then now the opposite has happened with the Mastercoin price.
Yeah, so I guess they'll just have to wait and hope that Mastercoin stabilizes, they get a few more projects.
I suppose they're in a position now where they should promote some other new project to use Mastercoin so that they could do it to them, I suppose. But
a lot of this comes down to sustainability, and really the ultimate feature of any currency is that it survives, and that requires good stewardship. It requires strong leadership, not just from the people at the top, but from everybody. in the project. I think far too much I'm feeling a sense of people want to follow. It's a very natural human thing to look for a leader and not to take responsibility for ourselves. And this is something that I spoke to Mike about this morning. It's something that has come up before on the forums, where you get this phenomena of the tragedy of the commons, where everyone waits for someone else to do the job. Right? It's actually in sociology, you can look this up. It's a bystander non-intervention, and this is the idea that sometimes when there's an accident in the street, everyone will wait for someone else to call 911.
Yeah.
Unless, interestingly, someone is wearing high vis. So I'm a cyclist in London, and I wear high visibility, shirts and stuff. And I was once, I saw someone, poor woman got run over. Yeah. Everyone looked to me to call the cops, right? Because I was just because I happened to be wearing a high vis, right? It was a signal of authority. And so I was like, well, and actually I adopted the role like almost automatically. It was almost like I hesitated for a while, and then I was like, yeah, no, you're absolutely, I should. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I got a phone.
So it's very interesting the way we relate to authority, that on the one sense we have this will to power, like we spoke a couple of episodes ago on the coffee show about people just wanting to make as much money as possible, and everyone harboring this secret desire to just make enough money so that they can just chill out and not have to work for a living.
That's again banking the money, saving they're so-called saving the money, depriving other people of it, so that you can have a presumed safe future. Which even then, like the price of the dollar, the price of the stocks, like you don't know what the future is, and even if you think you're safe, you could end up Mt. Gox because take all your money.
Right.
You have no idea the future.
Yeah, and that actually in trading and economics, that's called base risk. So that's your base risk. That's the risk that the whole platform could just fall through. And everyone discounts that. No one really thinks about that. They only think about, and actually when you talk to traders, what's interesting is you ask them, how they're doing, and they say, oh, I'm up, X. But then I say, what, overall? And it's like, oh, no, not overall. Overall, I'm down. So where are you setting the where are you setting the line? Oh, well, yeah, no, I did lose money on when, Bitcoin 24 went down, but I'm not counting that. I'm just counting from after that. So then you're sort of doing this stuff and you're thinking, hang on, I think the majority of Bitcoiners, or let's say around 50% or a little bit more, are probably only broken even on Bitcoin at best, because this is a marginally profitable endeavor. There are risks coming from every angle, not least from within Bitcoin itself, because most of its threats lie within it, not from outside. The threat isn't the regulators. The threat is the members of the public's level of understanding, things that we've overlooked in the core protocol, these kind of things. Now, what was that trailer we just saw on the TV before we came on air? It was like yet another disaster movie. Right?
Oh, yeah, it was a Rise of the Apes or something.
Right. So yet another one, and this time it's not in New York. Because I made this comment the other day on the thing, like we fantasize about our own destruction. We fantasize about apocalypse.
And they said it would all stop after 9/11. They were all like, let's get very serious. Our culture needs to buckle down. There's no more irony. Irony's dead. Being humorous is dead. Like playing these disaster movies, and even all the disaster movies that are kind of visually linked to what's happening. And
So this time it looks like it's set not in New York, probably San Francisco or somewhere with a bridge. They love a bridge. They love blowing up bridges. They've actually a lot of the I used to work in post production. They have a lot of this stuff on libraries. Like they have a lot of this material, like all the particles and stuff that they do, all the effects. A lot of it's in libraries. So they've got like the Golden Gate Bridge. They've got the Hudson River. They've got all that stuff. They don't have to keep recreating it. They've got this stuff in standing reserve. Okay, ready for the next studio to decide that now the customer wants another disaster movie. And a comment I'd like to make, and this relates to the hoarding and the prepping for the incoming doom, is that we watch these films in the safety of a cinema, with our frappa lattes and with our popcorns, and and it's almost like we fantasize about being safe in tumult. Within this kind of volatility, but we're okay, right? It's just everyone else that has to, suffer the collapse and the pain and the torment. I'm in the nucleus. I'm in the center of this thing, and all I'm doing is witnessing it. And I'll be okay afterwards. I'll survive it. I will witness it. I'll see it afterwards. I'll look back on it, and I'll be able to, talk about it later. And yet, that's probably not how it's going to be. The vast majority of people aren't going to get that flight to the Cayman Islands. They're not going to be able to live on, pina coladas and whatever on the beach.
They're going to get crushed under Godzilla's foot in the first act. So.
Right, exactly. Yes. So, well, that was day 4. Oh, well, this is day 4. That was day 3 that we were referring to. Is there anything we've missed?
let's see, MaidSafe came on. Oh, after MaidSafe, Jeff
Let's talk about
Garzik
Jeff.
from the Bitcoin Foundation, BitPay, came on to talk about Bitcoin in space. And at first you might think Bitcoin in space is kind of a nebulous or a limited, maybe even a pie in the sky idea, but the man had details. Right. He has orbits of the satellites, he has plans for launching, he has a CG of what the satellites will look like. He's raised, it sounds like, a good deal of money from some high value donors, and he even said that he was more interested in getting the normal people. He said there was interest normal people wanted to donate too, so maybe if we all put $10 in, we'll get the Bitcoin in space thing. And it was a lot more than what they'd been talking about in the past, because he said now that he could get a complete copy of the blockchain in space and that it wouldn't require ground stations to update it. So the space nodes would be completely separate, and that they wouldn't just provide like a backup system, like, we saved the blockchain for the next generation or something. It would actually be more like he wants to launch so many satellites, like an entire like mesh grid of satellites, so that anywhere in the world you could use the Bitcoin network to send money. Like, it wouldn't be Wi-Fi, you couldn't read celebrity news, but you could send your money even if you were in Africa.
So you're not just building internet for the world. I think he said you're building the blockchain for the world.
Blockchain for the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and he had all the details are there. He's talking about how they're putting the satellites in low Earth orbit. They expect them to fade in a year or 4 years. They have to keep launching them. They're developing specialized launchers so they can just get them on the normal ships, and they'll just launch a bunch of these cubes on their own. Just the birdcage pattern of the overlapping things, like, it's just incredible detail, and it really, it's not a pie in the sky project. It's not like Bitcoin's in space a joke. It's like, this guy is going to do it. Yeah. He's going to put Bitcoins in space.
Yeah, and he's one of the heroes of this space.
Absolutely.
And there are lots of, I saw Kyle Drake from CoinPunk was there as well. He's got this new ATM. These are the doers, right? These are the people that just start and just commit.
And that's what Andreas was talking about. Like, you don't ask for permission. He was talking about how he got into like Bitcoin PR or whatever you want to call Andreas's job for the Bitcoin thing. He's like, well, I started doing it, and then I kept doing it, and then I just kept doing it. And then it happened. Like, he got famous, he got on shows or whatever, all that kind of stuff. But that's not what he was about. He was just about talking about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about Bitcoin, you should do it. Another thing they talk about is telling your friends, your family, getting your mom involved. Everyone should get their mom to have some Bitcoins on their phone and spend some Bitcoins on Overstock.com. Lots of good mom stuff on there. Jewelry, dresses, sun stuff, outdoor things. I don't know. There's lots of good
interesting.
Stuff.
I had a quick comment actually to make about Jeff's talk, which is that money. I've been thinking a lot about the philosophy of money, and I think money has to do with the way we relate to distance. I've said it before, but one of the principal features of money back thousands of years ago, when we were living in tribes, was that money was the permission that your tribe gave you to leave. Because money has ubiquitous value. Money really is the understanding of what's important to everyone. Altruism, all true. Everything, this is always going to be true. People are going to find it. What I would add to Mike's definition of money as being a store of value is that it has to be valuable all of the time. It can't just be valued some of the time. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of the coincidence of wants. I've got to want it at the same time that you've got to give it to me.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I genuinely think that Satoshi really hit on something with his thought experiment. He did a thought experiment on the Bitcoin Talk Forum. You can look it up back in August 2010, where he said that Bitcoin is like colorless metal. It's almost like scientists have just discovered a colorless metal that doesn't conduct electricity, doesn't weigh anything, doesn't have edges, doesn't have a shape, but it has this one really unique property. It travels over communication networks at costs approaching zero at the speed of an email. And I think, yeah, you're right. It doesn't devalue the rest of the periodic table. It just situates it on a wider continuum, and it just kind of makes the whole economy more valuable now.
Yeah.
And I think we need to stop thinking in terms of, we need to stop being so divisive. We need to stop sort of drawing all these artificial boundaries like we do with our nation states, and stop saying, well, this is this thing and this is that thing, because that just says more about us than it does about the nature of reality in front of us. So great. This has been Chris during coffee on day 4, and so now we're about to head up to New Jersey, and then from New Jersey to New Hampshire at PorcFest. I don't know what the internet's going to be like up there, but we'll do our best to keep uploading more videos and more.
Hopefully we'll have some in Jersey, so there may be some more videos then, but New Hampshire sounds pretty spot on.
That's great. So don't forget to follow us on Twitter @WorldCryptoNet. I am @Mr. Chris Ellis. on Twitter as well. You can follow me, and please, if you've got any suggestions or comments or any ideas for videos that you think we should do, please leave some messages down below. We will reply and get back to you. Cheers.